Dorico 6 brings even more improvements to chord symbols. We have multiple rows of chord symbols with duration lines, new ways to manage the appearance of chord symbols, even the ability to create your own custom chord symbols, as well as new ways to select chord symbols. Let's dive straight in and have a look. Now, when you're inputting chord symbols, you can press the up arrow key and input into a new row. Once you're in the new row, navigating to input more chord symbols in that row works as usual. You can see which line of chord symbols you're inputting into on the popover here, and even use the spin box to navigate to a different row. Rows of chord symbols can be useful to show things like an alternative harmony that could be optionally played in certain passages. They could also be used to indicate a prevailing tonality or mode. To assist with this, chord symbols can now have a duration and display an extender line that shows that duration. To set a chord symbol duration, simply drag out from the right edge of the item. You can also use the standard key commands for lengthening and shortening any music item, Shift, Alt, and the left and right arrow keys. By default, the extender will use a solid line with an inward pointing hook, and this can be set in engraving options. You can also edit individual chord symbol duration line styles via a property. Let's talk about the new ways to edit the appearance of chord symbols. And please do keep watching, as once I've shown you the new features, I'll be walking through our suggested workflow for editing the appearance of Dorico's chord symbols to fit your individual needs. The project default chord symbol appearances dialog has been extended with new functionality. You still use the text control to add a chord symbol for editing. You can now view the italicized versions of the chord symbol. If you wish to edit the italicized version of the chord symbol, simply uncheck the option to synchronize it with its normal appearance and edit as usual. You can always resynchronize it again if you prefer. Sometimes you might wish to edit the appearance not just of a particular chord symbol, but for all roots of that chord symbol. Click Apply to all roots in the action bar, make your necessary edits, and then cycle through each root to check you're happy with the appearance. That same appearance will then be used for every chord symbol of the same type, regardless of its root. If you have a particular chord symbol that cannot be achieved by working through Dorico's extensive library of chord symbols and associated options, you can now define your own. If Dorico doesn't recognize a chord symbol typed into the control at the top of the dialog, it gives you the option to add it as a new custom chord type. Confirm the name and text that you'll use in the popover to summon it. Don't include a specific root here. And then build your custom chord, starting either from scratch or with an existing chord symbol. Add specific intervals or tap them in with the on-screen keyboard. If you have a MIDI keyboard attached to your system, you can click the MIDI Listen button and simply play your intended chord. Cycle the notes up and down the keyboard to check it against different roots and hear a preview of the chord. Once satisfied with the definition of the chord's intervals, press OK to return to the chord symbol appearance dialog. The default appearance of a custom chord symbol is simply its name displayed as basic text, but you can double-click this to edit the appearance in the component editor. Often, the reason for wanting to edit chord symbol appearances is actually due to a project needing to use different fonts to Dorico's defaults, and those fonts metrics not working well with the way Dorico kerns chord symbol components. Now, kerning is adjusting the space between individual characters or components to achieve a visual balance and improve readability. The fonts you use on your computer every day have had kerning defined for each pair of characters, so their words automatically look their best. We've done the same with Dorico's default fonts that are used to display chord symbols, Academico for the text components, and Bravura for the musical components. This means that when you choose to use different fonts for chord symbols, the metrics of those fonts, which will almost certainly be different to the Dorico defaults, will naturally result in poorer kerning. To address this, Dorico 6 introduces the chord symbol kerning editor, which allows you to add a set of fonts, a text font and a music font, and then work through each pair of components that could appear together and set a kerning value. Cycle through roots, qualities, and intervals. When you define a kerning value for a pair of components, let's say a minor M and a seventh interval, then those two components will be set that distance apart whenever they appear together, regardless of what other components are in the chord symbol. Use the spin box for setting precise values, use the different size previews to check your edits as you work, and reset to the default value if needs be. Edit stacked intervals by double-clicking and drilling down to the specific pair you're concerned with. We've updated the default behavior of double-clicking a chord symbol in engrave mode to open that chord in the kerning editor, though you can change that back to the appearance editor if you prefer. So with all of these new features in mind, it's worth recapping and, as I mentioned, thinking about the best workflow for getting chord symbols in Dorico appearing exactly as you like. Firstly, set the font styles so you're using the fonts you want in your project, the chord symbols font and the chord symbols music font. Then open engraving options and select the chord symbol preset closest to your preferred appearance. Take time to work your way through the vast array of options, ensuring you're choosing your required appearances for each category. The design section is particularly important, as there are various scale factors and offsets that will have a huge effect on the visual appearance of many chord symbols. The next step, if you're not happy with the horizontal spacing of your chord symbols, is to use the kerning editor to set values for each pair of components. Then, if necessary, use the chord symbol appearance editor in the library menu to adjust the appearance of whole chord symbols, making use of the new features for applying an appearance to all roots of a chord type and defining new chord symbol types if you need them. Finally, if an individual instance of a chord symbol needs adjusting, perhaps because it's a little tight for space in a particular context, then you can choose to override the appearance of that specific instance. And don't forget that if you want any of these edits to be available in new projects, remember to use the Set as Default button in various editors. We've also made some improvements to selecting chord symbols in Dorico 6. You can now click one chord symbol and shift-click another to select it and all chord symbols in between. If you select one chord symbol and Control or Command-click another using the Select More command with Control-Shift-A, that's Command-Shift-A on Mac, will similarly select all chord symbols in between. And there are two new commands available for you to set your own key commands for. The first, Add Chord Symbols to Selection, will do exactly that. It'll take an existing selection and add to that selection any chord symbols within its rhythmic range. The second, Select Chord Symbols, will replace an existing selection and select only the chord symbols across that rhythmic range. Finally, when you select a chord symbol, the status bar readout will list the pitches of that chord, and these will also be displayed on the keyboard panel. That all adds up to a huge set of new features for working with chord symbols in Dorico 6. We really hope you enjoy them. Please look out for my other videos about what's new in Dorico 6. I'm Anthony Hughes. Thanks for watching.